Sometimes the world feels, boring. We have visited remote islands, conquered the Arctic, and penetrated the deepest jungles. But there is still one place left to explore. It is a wet and deadly desert inhabited by mysterious creatures living in total darkness. The deep sea. When we look at the sheer scale of the Earth's oceans, it is hard to believe that less than 2% of all biomass on Earth lives here, and around 90% of that tiny slice is packed into the first 200 meters. This sunlit layer is where light can still penetrate, powering photosynthesis. Trillions of phytoplankton form the foundation of the ocean's ecosystem, feeding bigger plankton and everything else above them. At this depth, the seafloor can resemble an underwater rainforest, with coral reefs, algae, and sea plants hosting a bustling community of animals. But our adventure does not stop at the pleasant surface. We leave familiar coastal waters behind and slide off the edge of the continental shelf, down the long continental slope into deeper, more remote waters. With every meter, light fades drastically, plants disappear, and the landscape begins to look like the surface of the moon. Ahead lies endless open water, and we enter the Twilight Zone, the portal to the deep sea. As we sink, the pressure rises to deadly levels. The deepest scuba dive ever reached 332 meters, where the pressure is like having 200 cars stacked on top of you, and we have only completed 3% of our journey. Down here, many animals spend at least half their lives in the dark, resting during the day and traveling up at night to feed in the food-rich surface waters. In this transition between twilight and darkness, light becomes a weapon. Over 90% of species indigenous to this deep environment use bioluminescence to create light, camouflaging against faint sunlight, signaling mates, confusing attackers, or hunting. Teamwork also thrives. Around 700 meters, colonies of siphonophores stretch up to 50 meters long while staying broomstick thin. They lure prey with tragically beautiful blue or red light and unfurl curtains of tentacles loaded with toxic needles to immobilize anything that drifts too close. Most life here relies on an unlikely resource: marine snow. White flakes drift down from the surface, made of dead plant and animal parts, fecal matter, shells, sand, and dust. It might not sound tasty, but without it, the deep sea would starve. This is also where legendary battles might unfold as sperm whales hunt giant squid the size of a house. The squid fight back ferociously, leaving lifelong marks on the whales, but they probably do not stand a chance. At 1,000 meters, deeper than any human structure, we hit the midnight zone, a realm of utter darkness where swimming is harder for a human than walking in space. Life here is extreme and energy efficient. The vampire squid, about 30 centimeters long, floats without motion with slender catching arms extended, covered in tiny stiff hairs that brush food from the water. Predators must nail the first strike or lose their meal forever. The viperfish uses long fangs to trap large prey and swallow it whole. The frilled shark wields an impressive set of 300 backward curved teeth that hook victims in place. Quick timeout for you. Drop a comment and tell us which deep sea zone you would explore first and why. The Twilight Zone, the Midnight Zone, or the Hadal Trenches. What would you hope to see? As we sink past 3,800 meters, the depth of the Titanic's grave, we enter abyssal depths where life moves in slow motion to conserve energy. Creatures hover or glide smoothly, only accelerating to flee danger, like the Dumbo octopod paddling with ear-like fins or grenadiers with slow, eel-like tailbeats. At 4,000 meters, we reach the abyssal plain, a vast floor of gray mud and rocks dusted with marine snow. Sea cucumbers, shrimp, sea urchins, and sea worms consume this descending feast. Dark mineral lumps called manganese nodules anchor deep-sea corals and sponges. Even here, oases bloom. In rift valleys where tectonic plates split, magma heats seawater to create dark jets as hot as 400 degrees Celsius, building chimneys where extremophile bacteria convert minerals into organic substances, forming unique ecosystems. At 6,000 meters, we hit the deepest point of the abyssal plain and then plunge into the Hadal zone-long, narrow trenches that make up about 0.25% of the oceans. Only extremophiles endure this underworld. The ethereal snailfish holds the record for the deepest living fish ever seen at around 8,000 meters. Finally, we slide into a trench within the larger Mariana Trench, a valley about 1.6 kilometers wide, and reach the Challenger Deep at 11,000 meters. The pressure here is 1,086 bar, like balancing 1,800 elephants on top of you. Yet life persists. Sea cucumbers sift the bottom, and white and light pink amphipods drift gracefully, growing up to 30 centimeters in these depths compared to the small cousins in shallow waters. There's also a gut punch. Scientists found plastic bags here in 2018. Even the remotest place on Earth is not safe from us. If you love learning how our planet works, hit subscribe for more educational deep dives. After hours of rising through dark nothingness, we finally see light and return to a calm surface. The oceans are so deep and so vast. We owe it to ourselves and our descendants to preserve them as best we can. There are still so many wondrous things left to be discovered. What will we find next?